Um, I think the first item of substance on our agenda is talking about ballot measures. Yay. So to make sure everybody knows where we are, the latest information on ballot measures. The two ballot measures we discussed before in this group, they were two ballot measures that the grocers had started the process of gathering signatures, and each one of them would have allowed grocery stores to sell distilled spirits. The grocers pulled both of those. They withdrew. Oh, here's Commissioner.
Go ahead. I'll do it.
Thank you. The grocers withdrew both of those ballot measures last week. And I talked to OLCC about it, as well as public health, asking what was going on, and nobody really knew because the grocers had been at the very beginning of the ballot measure process. And so why did they withdraw both their ballot measures? Well, this week we have our answer, and that is the grocers actually introduced 3 new ballot measures. I sent them out in an email. I know, Nate, that on your system, for whatever reason, there was something in your system that put it into a secured message, and so you can't see the ballot measures. It's totally fine. They're also available online. I can just send you the link to the ballot measures. So we have now 3 ballot measures that the grocers have introduced. Once again, all 3 of them have to do with allowing grocery stores to sell distilled spirits. And just like the previous 2, I believe what the grocers are doing is probably doing some polling to see which one will work best, and then eventually put that one on the ballot next year. And just like the previous ballot measures, there's one that would allow grocery stores that have over 4,000 feet of retail space to sell any distilled spirit. And then there's one ballot measure that talks about grocery stores being able to serve their private label distilled spirits. And then the last one says that grocery stores would be only able to sell craft distilled spirits, and it defines craft as distilled spirits coming from a distillery that produces under a certain number of gallons per year. I think it was 100,000. So they're very
simple. That's what makes it craft?
Yeah, it does, right? I think it was 100,000. I'll have to go back and check, Dr. Richardson. It's still a lot, right?
Maybe the solution to all of our problems is that we should sponsor a distillery. We ought to become a distillery.
Is that the answer to all of our problems?
All we need is 400,000 square feet, or 40,000 square feet. So
you only need 4,000. You only need 4,000 square feet, and get a license from OLCC for an off-premise license, and there you go. You're set. So, sorry, to wrap up for the ballot measures. So while last week we were wondering what happened to the grocers' ballot measures, this week now we know. They have refined their ballot measures and introduced 3 new ones that are very similar to the last ones. I know OLCC has been working on trying to get more information about what has happened in states that have privatized distilled spirits, like our neighbor to the north, Washington. At whatever point they finish that analysis, I am happy to share it. I just wanted to alert everybody that's something that they're working on. But we will continue talking about ballot measures because now we have these 3 new ones that have been introduced. So I'm going to pause there and just see if anybody has any questions. Okay, I'm also going to pause for a moment and cough because, again, I have a toddler and she gave me another cold. All right, so ballot measures, they will continue to appear as a standing agenda item on our public affairs subcommittee meetings. The next item on our list is the behavioral health investment chart. This was something that Dr. Richardson sent out to everybody at our meeting in in September.
Hey,
But
Jill,
it's, yeah.
hold on one second. Let's go back to the ballot measures.
Yeah.
I tried to look at them quickly this afternoon. They're proposing that some of their revenue that's collected through OLCC go to SUD services. It's different. I wonder whether or not we should be proactive and reach out and see if we can influence what that looks like, because I'm not sure that what they're proposing to do with that makes sense to me, and whether or not at the point that the ballot measure is forming, since it's not actually a ballot measure yet,
Right.
can we intervene?
Mm-hmm. That's a really great question. I don't know. Once they've filed their ballot measure, can they go back and amend their ballot measure? But let me think about who to talk to, and yeah, we can go and talk to them about their ballot measures.
And I'd like to know whether or not it's permissible for us to even do that.
Oh, wow. Great question. Great question. Yeah, let's think about that.
Yeah, and I got a friend with a big mouth named people might be interested in this as well. So if nothing else, we can inform people about the measures. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Jill, Eric is coming in.
Okay. So to answer your question, Tony, we can always talk about the ballot measures to inform ourselves, and then you as private people, you are always free to talk to whoever you want to about whatever you want to. And even as commissioners, there's not a problem in your alerting other people about these ballot measures. We just can't take positions on them or say statements that are in opposition or in support of ballot measures.
Thanks for that reminder.
Yeah. All right. Okay, Dr. Richardson. So we've got a few follow-up things to do regarding the ballot measures.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So the next item on our agenda is about the behavioral health investment chart. As I said, Dr. Richardson actually sent this out at our commission meeting in September, so everybody has it already. But I wanted to remind this group, this is the group that asked for the behavioral health investment chart. We had asked OHA if they would help us start mapping out the investments that OHA received, particularly from the legislature this year regarding behavioral health, start mapping out how those behavioral health investments line up with the strategies and activities in our strategic plan. And we hadn't gotten a lot of response from OHA about mapping that out. So I told Dr. Richardson, and I think I told Tony, I was going to take a stab at it. So Nicole Corbin provided us a list of investments, and I went through that list and started trying to tie them to specific strategies and activities. I sent out the behavioral health investment chart again with today's email to everyone, and if at some point you can take a look at it, I would appreciate it, and give me any thoughts, feedback you have about it. It's a pretty basic chart, so I don't want anybody to get too excited about it. But I tried to take the list that Nicole Corbin gave us of the investments and then map out if it was in goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, goal 4 of the strategic plan, and give a reference to a specific strategy or activity that investment impacted. I will say there's one investment on there. Nicole had given on her list an investment regarding OHA is receiving about $32 million of additional federal block grant dollars for their mental health and substance use disorder block grants. And they're supposed to be putting together a plan of how those additional block grant dollars are going to be spent, but we don't know what the plan is, so I couldn't tie those to any specific strategies or activities. So if you're looking on the chart, the very last item, and it says more information needed, now you know why. That's really all I wanted to say about the behavioral health investment chart. Take a look at it. Let me know if you've got any thoughts or feedback on it. Again, it was something that this group requested, so I want to make sure you know that's what it is. Does anybody have questions about it?
Jill, this is Judge Block. I forgive me if this was discussed at the last meeting, which I missed, but what is, I mean, did we want this comparison or this tracking of the OHA expenditures or plans relative to our plan? For what was the stated purpose? Where are we going to go with this?
Yeah, I believe one of the things we talked about was that OHA received a huge amount of money this session.
Yes.
And they received many investments, and that it was actually getting to the point where it was kind of hard to remember what all the investments were from the legislature and how they related to the strategic plan. So I think one of the reasons subcommittee members had asked for this was just to try and put down on paper what were these investments and how do they relate to the strategic plan.
And then, that would inform us better on how we're using our influence to direct resources to the plans, right? Investment, key investments.
Right. I mean, I guess where I'm coming from, and I think it's the same place that you, Tony, and the commission is going. But I mean, given our limited bandwidth, it seems like everything we're doing should have sort of a strategic purpose. And I think if we really want to, if we have confidence in our plan, and we're tracking OHA expenditures to see if they comport with our plan, maybe we're going to put out some sort of a report card or something to try and promote some adherence to the plan or influence, expenditures going forward.
Yeah, I will say, Judge Block, one of the assignments Dr. Richardson gave me was trying to get a better grasp of where the money is going at OHA. So they've received both legislative investments and additional federal dollar investments for behavioral health. I mean, it is an enormous sum of money. Where's that money going? It's been difficult getting responses from OHA. And yes, I will end that sentence with period. It's been difficult getting responses from OHA. Right. I know there are plenty of providers out there who have also asked some similar questions and haven't gotten responses either. So it's not just us, not that I thought it was. But this is an ongoing conversation with OHA about there are many, many, many behavioral dollars going to them. Where is the money going? And it's been very difficult to answer that question.
Right. But and that's fine. But I guess I'll just conclude by saying that if Dr. Richardson asked you to do this, I think it's more than just to satisfy some vague curiosity that he has about the subject, that he's got some purpose in mind that is, probably about trying to track those dollars and see how closely they're coming to what our plan is proposing.
You're right, Judge. Hey, Jill, I'm going to actually show the chart so that if folks haven't had a chance to actually look at it, I think putting it up might help us see what Jill has done. So on the left, Jill, I'm just going to, on the left side are the investments. And as Jill has already told us, as you guys already know, I'm sure OHA got an unprecedented amount of investments from the legislature this year. And what she's done is show how those investments may or may not be connected to our strategic plan in the 4 major areas. And surprisingly, a number of the investments do correlate to what we are trying to do in our strategic plan. And for me, I think this is important to see where we're going to claim victory here, right? That whether it was the intent of the legislature to fund items that are consistent with our strategic plan or not, we're going to take credit for it and build on that capacity. The other thing is that I have yet to appear before the legislature where Steve Allen wasn't also on the program, and we often get asked how we work together. And so I think this is another way to sort of show how we might be working together, because I think there are times that we attach our wagon to that wagon and it helps with our influence. And we ought to know where the money's going. And that's the attempt to do that. There's a hell of a lot more money in the system than is reflected here. It's our attempt to really answer part of the question that Dwight keeps asking is, follow the money. Well, this is an attempt to try to follow the money in relationship to our strategic plan. Yeah, I'll be quiet and see if you guys have any questions about that piece. Go ahead, Jill.
No, that was great.
Yeah, and I was not necessarily suggesting that there wasn't going to be a lot of consistency between what OHA is doing and what we proposed. I think what we proposed makes sense, and so I'm prepared to entertain the possibility that OHA is going to see the sense of it or come to its own judgments that are consistent with what we've come to. But I think it's good news if we can show that here's this strategic plan and that what OHA is doing as an implementer, as an actor, as a funder, makes some strategic sense, that it's not just a random series of good acts that are being undertaken accidentally, that there is some strategy that is being fulfilled here. Or not, they're not batting 1,000, and then we can identify areas that need more attention or investment. Yeah. So, okay, well, that's excellent, Jill.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Commissioner Minty Morris is also joining us now.
Yeah. Excuse me. So to just top that point off, Judge Block, I think you've hit on another item which a lot of people seem to be frustrated about, that it's very hard to figure out what the plan is over at OHA for a variety of things, including all of these dollars, where are they going? I have a feeling that Dr. Richardson asked to kind of follow the money so that we could use our plan as part of the plan for where these dollars should be going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we're the ones that by statute develop the plan. So if OHA doesn't have a plan, that's okay, as long as they're using our plan, right? We don't want them to have a different plan or a separate plan.
Yeah.
So I think there's a natural collaboration here that hopefully it sounds like is being recognized.
We have a monthly meeting with OHA, so I was going to talk to Dr. Richardson about should we be putting this in front of OHA just to make sure that they see it, they know it exists, and that we're just continually going back to this about these investments have the opportunity or the potential to impact these strategic plan strategies and activities, just so that they never forget there's a plan. There's a plan. And that, you know, maybe we can be helpful in whatever their plan is for how to spend these dollars.
Right.
All right. So thank you, Dr. Richardson, for showing the behavioral health investment chart. And again, I don't know, Commissioner Minty-Morris, if you heard, but I sent it out to everybody if you want to take a look at it. And if you have any questions, this was just my attempt to try and start putting down on paper the investments from the legislature to OHA, how they relate to the strategic plan. So let me know if anybody has any questions about that. The next item on our agenda is actually very, very short, and here we go. So normally I give a legislative update at our public affairs subcommittee meetings. I think everybody knows there had been September legislative days planned last month, but they did not happen because there was a positive COVID case at the legislature, so they were canceled. The next time the legislature is scheduled to have legislative days is in November. We had not been asked to present during September legislative days. I had a meeting earlier this morning with the staff at the Speaker's office who said that they might be requesting us to appear before Representative Sanchez's committee during November. And if that's the case, that's totally fine. We frequently appear before the Behavioral Health Committee. But my report about September legislative days is that there were no September legislative days. So done. The second legislative item is that there are two legislators who started a behavioral health work group. I believe the exact title of it is Behavioral Health Transformation Work Group, because you just can't have too many work groups with the title transformation in it. The legislators who are convening or leading, facilitating this behavioral health legislative work group are Representative Nose and Senator Lieber. Representative Nose and Senator Lieber are the co-chairs for the Human Services Subcommittee of Ways and Means. So they are the co-chairs of the Money Committee, where most of our items go. So it's a large work group, but we have Dr. Richardson, who has a seat on the work group. They have had a grand total of 1 meeting so far. And Dr. Richardson, I don't know if there's anything you want to say. I would say for me, it was interesting that they had a behavioral health continuum of care that people who actually work in behavioral health did not appreciate so much. So I think Dr. Richardson is trying to help them with that. But I don't know, Dr. Richardson, if you have anything more you wanted to add.
Yeah, when we, yeah, you have to be careful about this kind of thing. So when you speak out and say your continuum of care is, one, not a continuum of care, and two, it doesn't accurately reflect what happens in the real world, you get asked to, okay, well, if you got ideas, let's see what you can do. So my colleague Heather Jeffress, who is the exec of Oregon Behavioral,
right, that group,
yeah, she's the person who is the representative of a number of the behavioral health organizations. She and I put our heads together to try to come up with a graphic that more accurately depicts real life. And just for fun, let me share with you what we came up with. can you guys see this? Jill, can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay. What this is trying to depict is that yeah. So even though the committee is supposed to be behavioral health, I think their leanings have been mental health. And so what this is trying to show is both what exists in terms of behavioral health, mental health, and SUD. That it isn't a lateral or, yeah, a lateral sort of, or linear rather, depiction of services, that really its services are delivered in multiple domains in different ways. And so this is designed to sort of show what happens from the least intervention where people might be beginning to use to people who are using in problematic areas, and what happens, and as much as involvement with the state hospital, et cetera. So this is more the service array, if you will. And Heather, who I think is really skilled at depicting funding, sort of tried to depict her view of moving of the various funding streams that happen within the system. And it's just what we're trying to do is keep the legislators honest in that this is both a SUD and a mental health issue, and that there's a variety of ways in which we can look at this, and that we ought to be true to a more comprehensive set of circumstances than where they started. That's what we're trying to do. I don't think that will happen. I think the legislators are wedded to their conception, and damn the facts. So that's my. But we'll keep the fight going. We'll see what we can do.
Well, I mean, I think that's where the phrase you're no doubt familiar with and a practitioner of, and that is speak truth to power, right? And just, that's all we can do.
And I mean, we weren't initially invited. We found out about it. And I don't remember how we found out about it. And then I asked Jill to see if we could get a seat. And they did graciously extend us as a member, not just a participant, but an actual member of the work group. So we feel good about that.
Yeah. No, that's significant.
And I met with Representative Lieber for about an hour yesterday, actually. And I think she's asking a lot of questions and trying to get input and answers to figure out what's going on to try to fix it, which to me was encouraging, because other times I talk to legislators who don't have any experience in this stuff, and they're asserting all of these propositions about what needs to happen. And it's really clear that they don't understand it because it is incredibly complicated. So I really like that. I had a good conversation with her. I was like, look, like, this stuff is really nuanced and stuff, but if you can figure out a way to increase reimbursement rates for SUD treatment, it would make a major difference in the system, increasing capacity. So if you can figure out how to do that legislatively, I don't know what the lever is, but it would really be helpful. So anyways, I was encouraging. I actually like her as a person. She's pretty cool to hang out with, but see what happens. And at least you're there, and it's an opportunity to inject our plan, I think. And if we can show that we're mapping out the plan and we're making progress and things are happening, like with that tool that you guys created, I feel like that just demonstrates our overall competence and utility.
Right.
So that's a cool little graphic there. And I'll say that Heather, I think, is a really good ally of ours, and she's really sharp, and she knows a lot about the system. She's one of the most knowledgeable people I've met about the system.
Yes.
And all of its little nuances. So, and she's been coming to all the ADPC meetings, which has been really, really great for us, I think. So she's a good ally.
Well, I'm hoping that in November, she'll be joining us as a commissioner. They've updated the appointment system and put it into the personnel system that we use for the state now called Workday. And it's just been a nightmare trying to get appointments. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, that's really good news. That's
Yeah.
a really good appointment. Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
Well, while I'm on a roll, Jill, let me just say one other thing. I met with the governor's office on Monday to pitch the executive order. And to my surprise, our policy advisor didn't object to it, thought it was a good idea, and said he would submit it to General Counsel's office, who handles the executive orders. And so I have a tickler set to check in with him in a couple of weeks to see where we are.
Great.
Well, that's encouraging as well.
Yes.
Good job.
Yeah, we were having a pretty low time around here. So it's been very frustrating, but I feel a renewed sense of hopefulness that we can make some difference. So
Okay.
you're not likely to read about me doing something crazy on the Capitol steps now.
I think we're making a difference, and I'm about as jaded as it gets about Oregon state government. Well, if there's anything I can do to, it sounds like perseverance is paying off, but Jeff Rhodes was my former law clerk, so I'm happy to have, I haven't met with him in a while, so if there's anything I can do to help at any point, let me know.
Well, that might not necessarily be a good impediment. I'm just kidding.
What did you say, Tony?
I said that might not be a good thing. I'm just joking.
I think you have other resources in that office that might be a better use than Jeff.
Oh, okay.
We might want to use our informal relationships to remind the governor that we're here and that the issue hasn't gone away.
Oh, yeah. Okay. We can do that too.
Yes. So,
all right.
I may just offer a thought. Hi, everyone. It's Kelly. Just on without knowing, I'd love to, and I don't want to make you go over it here if everybody else is already aware. So I'll learn it offline about the executive order request. But I would just say sort of big picture, 50,000 foot view. I think the narrative around the state is that the governor has maybe overused the executive order authority. And so I think that if we don't get a positive on that, it might be related to things that don't have anything to do with the request. So I just don't want everyone to have their hopes dashed again if it's been sort of a hopeless feeling time, in that I could see a major hesitancy, and probably for some really understandable reasons, for the governor to do any kind of executive orders right now. So just some thoughts.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Jeff did share some concerns that the general counsel's office has, and I think you hit it squarely on the head. The difference with this one is that it would be directing state agencies to play nice with us, as opposed to all the other executive orders that require outside of the government folks to do things.
Right.
And then, plan B would be the governor can convene her state agencies and simply give the message, here's what I expect you to do. And that'll be plan B. We'll ask the governor to come to one of our meetings where we're convening our state agency partners. That's when we know they show up, when that happens. And so she could deliver the same message, in a less formalized way. So thanks for that reminder.
Yeah. Okay. Jill, what else? Yeah.
We had a short agenda for today's meeting, and actually we have covered all of our items.
Okay. Great. Well, Commissioner Minty Moore, it's great to see you here, and that was we love those types of good sort of strategic thinking offerings, and that's kind of what this committee is about. We're sort of we just talk about substantive issues, but with sort of a strategic, sort of forward-looking time frame, and so you're right on the nose with that. All right, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vesna, anything additional you'd like to throw into the hopper here? Chair's prerogative.
Nope, I just think I got no prerogative but to help the people, man. No, so I think I just say, we're gonna get off. That's great. I know everybody's busy. Just I want to highlight Dr. Richardson and Jill and everybody and all your hard work with such a small staff and stuff. And just commend you on doing all that behind the scenes. I know it's really difficult, especially tracking OHA and any governmental entities right now, because they're just expanding and growing and they're so disorganized. It's just really difficult. Just getting the insurance certs I need to the right people at the county and the state to have a vaccine event has been incredibly difficult and ruined my whole day. So don't imagine what you're going through. So have a good day. See you guys soon. Appreciate all your hard work.
All right. Oh, we didn't do public comment. Do we have anyone from any member of the public on the call? All right. So public comment was called and no participants. All right. So we're good to go. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you.
Thanks, Judge. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Jill.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Good to see you.
See you guys. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.